It's a state which prides itself on its independent pioneering spirit. It says so right there on the licence plate. New Hampshire voters also pride themselves on vetting presidential candidates. The nation's first primary election deciding who goes on from here and who simply doesn't make the cut.
And that leaves the candidates chasing the independent vote. And that's a difficult line to follow. They have to convince the party faithful that they're true to their beliefs, while recruiting others, the free spirits, into the voting booth.
It's estimated 40% of New Hampshire voters describe themselves as independents. That means when it comes to the primary, they can choose which party to support, Republican or Democrat, and then which candidate gets their vote. Tiani Coleman is one of them, a former Republican. She now judges candidates where they stand on issues important to her.
Most people in the other parties are pretty predictable because they follow party lines, they stay in the box. And independent voters are really swayed by so many different things that candidates really have to be on top of their game in order to sway independent voters. The party line won't do it.
The polls say there's a growing sense of frustration and disappointment in both parties, and that's led to more people calling themselves independent. But one analyst believes many rarely switch allegiance, but like the idea of calling themselves independent.
A lot of research into this has found that most people who say they're independents actually are pretty consistent voters for one party or the other over time, but for whatever reason they still like to think of themselves as independents and say, I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, or I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent, I just have voted Republican in the last 7 presidential elections. But it still matters, and I think the independent-mindedness behind that sort of impulse matters to a lot of these voters.
Winning over independents is a crucial test for anyone who wants to be president. They can't just bank on the party's base to carry them to victory. And candidates the independent voters back in New Hampshire don't always win their party's nomination. But it remains an important stop on the road to the White House. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, Concord, New Hampshire.